How America became United States of America. Journey of USA from colony to superpower. Are you prepared to take on an amazing historical voyage that will trace the United States' amazing transformation from a young colony to a major world power? Ever ponder what crucial events and brave people molded the course of a country that would eventually exert unmatched power on the global scene? Join us as we unravel the captivating story of America's rise, packed with victories, struggles, and key moments that determined its identity and destiny. How did a small colony become a world-renowned symbol of prosperity and freedom? What lessons about the issues we face now can we draw from America's history? As we delve into the epic history of the United States and uncover the factors that shaped a country unmatched in scope, get ready to be inspired and educated. Often considered a worldwide powerhouse, the United States of America has a deep and intricate past that dates back to its modest beginnings as a collection of British colonies in the 17th century. The United States developed over several centuries from a conglomeration of small settlements into a single country with unmatched power in the military, economy, and culture of the globe. This video discusses the incredible journey of how America transitioned from a colony to a superpower, highlighting major events, persons, and forces that affected its trajectory. The colonization period. With the entrance of European settlers looking for new chances and a fresh start in the New World, the colonization period of America marks a significant turning point in its history. English, Spanish, French, and Dutch colonies were founded along North America's eastern seaboard starting in the early 17th century. Several colonies, such as New Amsterdam in modern-day New York City, Plymouth in Massachusetts, and Jamestown in Virginia, provided bases for European exploration and growth. Motivated by a variety of motives, including economic opportunities, religious freedom, and territorial ambitions, immigrants faced the perils of the Atlantic voyage in search of a better life in the wilderness of the New World. The colonization period was characterized by both cooperation and conflict between European settlers and indigenous Native American nations. A mixture of peaceful and mutually beneficial interactions as well as violent incidents and the imposition of European institutions and values characterized the interactions between Native Americans and settlers. A decline in population and a disruption of culture were the result of European diseases like smallpox that had a disastrous effect on Native American populations. Native Americans contributed to the intricate web of relationships that shaped the colonization era despite these difficulties by frequently serving as allies, traders, and middlemen in the early colonial endeavors. Immigrants, agricultural innovation, and the development of trade networks with other colonies in Europe all contributed to the colony's growth and prosperity over time. A number of distinct regional identities, political institutions, and economic frameworks that would influence America's future emerged during the colonial era. However, conflicts with the British Crown over problems such as taxation without representation and trade restrictions would finally culminate in the drive for independence and the establishment of a new nation, because it set the stage for later revolutionary events and shaped the identity of a young country. The colonization era in American history is thus seen as a formative one. The road to independence. A new nation was born, and the Revolutionary War resulted from the difficulties, tensions, and significant events that paved the way for the American colonies to achieve independence. Growing colonial dissatisfaction with British policies and rights restrictions fueled a desire for more autonomy and self-governance in the years preceding the signing of the Declaration of Independence in the year 1776. When laws like the Stamp Act of 1765 and the Tea Act of 1773 were passed without the colonists' representation in the British Parliament, they planted the seeds of rebellion. Colonists resisted these activities through boycotts, rallies, and acts of civil disobedience, expressing their rights as English subjects and opposing the authority of the British Crown. As tensions between the colonies and the British government increased, the First Continental Congress met in 1774 to establish a united front against injustice and to voice the grievances and rights of the colonists. On the other hand, the Revolutionary War actually started when fighting broke out at Lexington and Concord in April of 1775. Though early hopes for peace were dashed, the war swiftly worsened as British and colonial armies engaged in engagements like Bunker Hill and Saratoga, inspiring both foreign allies and colonists to support the cause of independence. As colonists faced years of hardship, uncertainty, and bloodshed on the battlefield, the path to independence was paved with sacrifice, tenacity, and resolve. Signed on July 4, 1776, the Declaration of Independence marked the official end of British authority and the official beginning of the United States of America as an independent nation. Yet the journey to freedom was far from done, as the young nation faced formidable hurdles in establishing a government, getting international recognition, and choosing a path ahead in a world dominated by empires and monarchs. Despite the odds, the American colonies emerged triumphant, securing their independence and establishing the groundwork for a democratic experiment that would inspire generations to come. The founding of a nation. The composition and ratification of the U.S. Constitution, as well as the creation of a federal government founded on the values of democracy, the separation of powers, and individual rights, marked the historic and revolutionary period in U.S. history, known as the nation's founding. In order to address the shortcomings of the Articles of Confederation and provide a more solid framework for national governance, representatives from the 13 states gathered in Philadelphia for the Constitutional Convention of 1787. The innovative text that would form the cornerstone of the American political system was written by the delegates after intensive deliberation and compromise. With respect to the protection of individual liberties through the Bill of Rights, the Constitution established a federal form of government that maintains a balance of powers among the legislative, executive, and judicial departments. 13 states came together to form a more perfect union with the ratification of the Constitution in 1788, marking a crucial turning point in the nation's founding. Though discussions over topics like states' rights, the federal government's function, and the institution of slavery split the country, the process was not without its difficulties. The Federalist Papers, a series of essays written by Alexander Hamilton, James Madison, and John Jay, played a crucial role in garnering support for the Constitution and addressing concerns about its implications for the rights of citizens and the powers of government. A nation built on the ideals of liberty, equality, and self-government was established when the United States commenced a daring experiment in democratic governance with the ratification of the Constitution. Westward expansion and nation building. As the United States moved westward, gaining significant lands through treaties, acquisitions, and military victories, the 19th century saw a fast growth of territory and the emergence of a nation. The Louisiana Purchase in 1803, the annexation of Texas in 1845, and the Oregon Trail migration were significant events that fueled America's rise and converted it into a continental power. But this time also saw internal strife over matters like slavery, which finally erupted into the Civil War and confrontations with Native American tribes. The Civil War and Reconstruction. With the great struggle over the country's future and the lingering legacy of slavery, the American Civil War and Reconstruction era stands as one of the most turbulent and transformative periods in history. Fights centered on states' rights, secession, and the institution of slavery pitted the Union States of the North against the Confederate States of the South from 1861 to 1865. Thousands of soldiers and citizens lost their lives in the conflict, which also severely damaged the country's psyche. The war caused enormous human suffering and destruction. After the Union won and the 13th Amendment was ratified in 1865, ending slavery was a turning point in American history that marked the end of the chattel slavery era and the start of a new one in the fight for equality and freedom. The period of Reconstruction that followed the Civil War was filled with obstacles as the nation wrestled with the task of rebuilding the South, integrating formerly enslaved African Americans into society, and redefining the relationship between the federal government and the states. Through initiatives like the Freedmen's Bureau, which assisted recently freed slaves, and the enactment of civil rights laws intended to defend the rights of African Americans, Reconstruction efforts sought to redress the social, economic, and political turmoil caused by the war. However, white supremacists who wished to uphold white supremacy and thwart the achievements of emancipation and Reconstruction also characterized Reconstruction with violence, resistance, and retaliation. The period came to an end in 1877 with the withdrawal of federal soldiers from the South and the advent of Jim Crow laws and racial segregation, setting the groundwork for decades of struggle for civil rights and racial equality in America. Rise to superpower status. America became a major economic and military force in the world throughout the late 19th and early 20th century. The United States' involvement in both World Wars I and II cemented its position as the dominant global power, while industrialization, immigration, and technological advancement propelled swift economic expansion. The United States gained unparalleled economic wealth, cultural influence, and military power in the post-war era as it emerged as the dominating force in the Cold War struggle with the Soviet Union. The United States' transformation from a collection of British colonies to an international powerhouse is evidence of the people's tenacity, inventiveness, and resolve. America has consistently changed over the years, rising to new challenges and opportunities while holding fast to its values of freedom, democracy, and the pursuit of prosperity. This has been the case during times of hardship, conflict, and victory. The U.S. journey from colony to superpower serves as a reminder of the enduring power of the American dream and the promise of a more perfect union as it continues to negotiate the challenges of the 21st century. Subscribe now to uncover the compelling stories of America's defining moments from the tumultuous Civil War era to the transformative period of Reconstruction.